think looking at it now, I think my son would see me come home all beat up and lay in bed the next day, and then he would just see me deteriorate over the years with my back and stuff. So I think that has a lot to do with it. Maybe he just sees it as like, hey, it kind of fucked up my dad's life, to a certain extent. And
you know what? Let's take him over to some of our friends' houses. Let's show him some real fuck ups.
Right? Yeah.
So you still follow it? So are you entertained by what they're putting out, or do you watch it in frustration? Like
I think honestly, I watch it just because
it's pro wrestling. It's on
I have
TV.
to.
Yeah.
It's like I have to. There's I don't watch SmackDown, even though I DVR it every week. I always find myself deleting it every week. I never even.
Do you read the results first and see if you?
No, I don't even pay attention to it for some weird reason. I don't know why. Nothing like really,
it has a different feel.
Well, you know why?
Live.
Because they don't go back to Raw either and go, you missed this amazing thing that happened at SmackDown. Like you don't even.
I was just thinking about that. You're right, because back in the day when it was on, those were the two shows. Like they bounced off of each other. Mm-hmm. So now I really just look at it as they're just going to show you what happened on Raw.
It's just a recap.
Yeah, and then some other matches and. Remember when SmackDown used to be like the show where they had like that tag team division? Of course,
dude. There was a lot of things about WWE that just don't.
I think when Lesnar was on top, it was really him and Angle when they were on top and on SmackDown. That's when it was really hot. But what I see now, I don't know, man. They need to get out of this like PG stuff. It's like
it's bad.
The stuff that they.
This is the problem, though, dude. Even if they got out of do you want to see them do adult stuff with this much acting? The acting's not going to stop. So at least with the PG stuff, you're not going, oh, hand. They gave birth to a hand.
I suppose. Yeah. I honestly think they've so lost their way.
Yeah.
That I don't know that they can get back.
I think they're just waiting on the next thing to happen to where they can just go, yes, we created this. Let's run with it, and now we're successful again.
But you could say like that they've never made more money than they're making now.
Sure.
I mean, they're in so many countries and they get so much back end money.
I'll tell you what, man. They
don't think they're screwing up.
I know.
They don't think so at all.
No.
Ratings are dropping and they're yelling at the writers like, whoa, it's the whole package.
Right. Vince McMahon used the Attitude Era better than he could have. I don't think he could have used that era in time. The profits. I don't think he could have done any better of a job than he's doing now because the entire business changed, bought WCW, took care of ECW, got rid of that. And back then I was wondering, I was like, why is he buying all these libraries?
Now you know.
And now I know because I've invested quite a bunch of money back into it for him,
I'll give you a password to this website. We're going to watch them all for free.
Oh, don't say that because now my wife she's listening to this. She's going to hear that and say, I don't want to ever see another DVD in this house. I just watched the NWO one that came out today. And,
came out today?
Yeah,
you watched it today?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm jealous. You should have brought it over. We could have ripped it.
Yeah, and it's done really well. Their documentaries are awesome. I mean, if there's anything...
They do great. Their video work is second to none. They can make anything look cool in a music video.
I try to find the good in wrestling all the time. And if there's one thing where I can say, like, I think when the Attitude Era and ECW and all that, I wish I could relive that again as a fan.
I have every single pay-per-view from 1983 to 2010.
Oh, do you? I think
incredible.
I might be from like 1988.
Where are we at now?
We're in 97, and we haven't gone back in like a year. But I have all the Saturday night main events, all the Clash of Champions, all the ECW pay-per-views, and all the TNA pay-per-views, and they're all in order. You go through them, and they're all put in.
Mine are all in order too, but not by company.
Awesome.
You just in date order, right?
In date order, yeah. So like it splits up pay-per-view. So you could like we basically started at like WrestleMania 6, was it?
Yeah.
And we put it in and we just watched, and we didn't like it. We just fast forward and we watched every single pay-per-view up to 97.
Dude, and we missed the boat on one thing is keeping track of like hidden gem matches where you're watching old pay-per-views and it's like the middle really card tag match.
It's some strange,
the Bulldogs and the Heart Foundation and you're like, oh my God, this is the greatest match ever.
Yeah. That would have been a good idea to like write those down.
Dude, we could. I mean, ultimately, yes. And then you put out those discs, you pull those matches off, and then you make best of discs. Yes, sell the shit out of those.
That's why if I was wrestling today, that's what I would be ripping these all day long.
Yeah, fuck it.
That would be my merchandise. We do have a buddy calling in.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna have an MMA report.
Oh, good. I like that.
We haven't had one in a minute, so I think it would.
Did you talk to him?
I talked to him, texted him. He had to eat, so that he just checked in. Doesn't mean he's going to call in right now, but when he does, we will go to Lockport Joe.
Lockport Joe, talk a little MMA. You follow Lockport MMA Joe as well?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Lockport.
Yeah, Lockport Joe is our resident MMA expert. He has a segment called Shin to Chin, the MMA report. So yeah.
Yeah, you know what? When I first started, got into MMA. pride was already gone.
Mm-hmm.
But I started liking UFC because my friends did, and I said, "Oh, But I got so excited watching these MMA matches, like this is better than wrestling because you don't know what's going to happen."
Yeah.
And for a minute, I thought it was going to maybe really skyrocket. It's kind of quieted down a little bit lately.
They've gotten hurt by the injury.
Yeah,
the
injuries and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But just like me, what I do is I have this personality that when I get into something like a hobby, I have to research it and then get all of it. I have to have it all and from start to finish.
You're a wrestling fan. That's how you were. That's how you were brought up.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Find out as much as you
can.
So
I'm like, what is this pride? So I looked at that, and then I find myself finding the old DVDs and stuff. So it's kind of weird because I'll go back and watch those shows still, and to me it's current.
Right. We do have a question from one of our listeners. Jay Jensen's out there.
Hey, Jay.
What happened during Bush's second term to get him elected? You never finished your story.
Oh well, what happened was if what I understand correctly, and maybe you guys will correct me here, is he lost the popular vote. He lost our vote, the
Correct.
people's vote. So you know how you hear all these states closing and they're counting up all our votes? Okay, Bush lost that. He didn't win. But he won the Electoral College votes.
Which, how do you define the Electoral College?
Oh, shit.
Well, ultimately what it is each state is assigned a certain number of electoral votes based on the population of that state. So Montana doesn't have nearly as many electoral votes as California does.
Right.
So to speak.
The bigger the state, the more votes they have.
Correct.
So technically the way it's always worked is, if, let's say Illinois, for example, the candidate wins the popular vote, wins your vote, my vote, Vito's vote. Then what happens is they just kind of in turn get our electoral votes. Correct. And it always just kind of goes that way. But it actually went the opposite way back then.
Mm-hmm. It's only happened 3 times in presidential election history.
Right, yeah. But to happen, for it to happen in these modern times, especially with a controversial guy like him.
Say it in one bullet point, what exactly happened? Because you explained it perfectly. But now just say what happened.
He lost.
He lost the one, but he
won.
He lost the popular vote. He lost.
Al Gore got more votes overall.
Yes,
but he didn't get the right votes in the right place.
He lost the people's votes. So in other words, at the end of the
bigger
day,
states with more electoral votes won over the other side.
Correct, and it makes you think. At the end of the day, if there is this, secret society or whatever that supposedly really runs the country that you hear about, the Men in Black or the, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
If they wanted somebody to win the presidential race, they could have them win, no matter what you or I voted on. XYZ won by a landslide, but ABC actually got in because he got the electoral votes.
Yeah, and it's not really the Men in Black. It's actually the Koch brothers. It's the Bernie Madoffs. It's the Rupert Murdochs of the world. It's J.P. Morgans, the Chases, the Rockefellers.
Yes.
The Rothschilds. They're not boogeymen. They exist.
They're real people,
and they invest in both campaigns.
Yeah.
Evenly. It's really scary when you look at it. Papa John's Pizza is another major contributor to the Republican Party.
I heard that,
it's weird. It's very weird.
What do you guys think about Romney though, being a devout Mormon though, and being the first?
He has bamboozled everybody to think he is a Christian.
Right,
yep, you're right, and it's funny because somebody pointed out
completely different.
Somebody pointed out, what will the evangelicals think if he gets sworn in and it's the Book of Mormon?
Right,
because it won't be the Bible; it'll be the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
That when he's being confirmed in, that's going to blow evangelicals' minds.
As a Mormon, I mean, I guess publicly then supports polygamy.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, what's this guy going to have? 7 wives in the White House?
For defense, though, that's a break-off of the original Mormons to, Mormons today are completely against it. So there is 2 different sides, but he is an original 12th descent of the original Mormons.
Right.
Well, that's like on Breaking
John
Amish,
Smith,
how they have the
Yeah. So, I mean, is he into polygamy? I don't know. But he's definitely into magic underwear. He's definitely into the idea that there's this island that you're basically away at. That's heaven. It's just a different planet.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's weird, man. You look into Mormon.
When you die, you go to a different planet and you just hang out.
Like the dude,
ridiculous.
Like the people with the Nikes and the purple, the purple blankets,
mm-hmm.
and
same deal.
Jim Jones and all that shit.
Yes,
oh, come on.
Well, it is time now. I see he is on the line. Let's give him his proper intro,
yes.
Vito. It's time for Lockport Joe and Shin to Chin.
Shin to chin. Shin to chin. Shin to chin. Shin to chin. Shin to chin. It's all over, just like now. Showtime,
And we are back. It is now time for Lockport Joe and Shin to Chin. Lockport Joe, what's on the breaking news as far as MMA is concerned?
Not a lot of breaking news. I guess the news this week was the UFC announced the next couple of UFC on Foxes for 2013, and the leadoff one will be January 26th. It's back at the United Center in Chicago, and Donald Cerrone and Anthony Pettis. The only fight announced. I don't think it's necessarily the main event, but that's the first fight announced for the show.
That's a big fight too. Those two guys have been kind of jawing with each other, and Donald Cerrone is coming off that beat down by the Diaz brother, and Pettis obviously is.
He beat Melvin Gillard after that.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, but he really lost a lot of stock though to that when he got so decimated by Diaz.
Yeah, he was right up there, and then kind of that set him back a little bit. So he's going to have to claw his way back. I don't know if this necessarily guarantees him a title shot again. He probably has to fight one more, and I know Lozon and Gray Maynard are fighting each other, so we could see maybe the winners of those two fights fight each other, and that would be the next person. I think Ben Henderson is in for a world of hurt against Nate Diaz, so he's good luck with that as far as the title match goes at the next UFC on Fox. So we'll see. There'll be a lot of fallout from that, and then. Don't know what else will be. Like I said, I don't think the Pettis and Cerrone will be the main event necessarily. They usually bust out 3 or 4 pretty solid fights for the Fox shows.
Yeah, that next Fox card is pretty loaded. I mean, that's as stacked of cards they've had all year.
Yep, and then there's UFC on Saturday, gentlemen, and the live broadcast is actually at 8 in the morning local time because it's in China, and it's Rich Franklin against Kung Lee is the main event, and Jung Young Kim against Paulo Thiago, Max Danzig, Takanori Gomi also fights on that card. So
it's actually live at 9 a.m.
It's on Fuel, so it's not a bad card for a free show. So, but yeah, set your DVRs for 8 o'clock a.m. on Fuel TV.
Rich Franklin should win that fight, though, right? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine. I would imagine. And both those guys are kind of on their way out, so no consequence as far as title shots go, but it's just kind of. I think they wanted Kung Lee to fight just because it was in China, so we'll see.
The other big news coming out.
I would say Rich. Basically, he looked impressive against Vanderlei, so I'd pick him to beat Kung.
The other big news in MMA this week comes out that Stephan Bonner tested positive for steroids after his fight with Anderson Silva. What's your reaction to that? Surprising, not surprising? What are your feelings on that?
Surprising because Stephan's never been a guy, at least up until this point, that we know of that took anything. But he
all right. So here's the deal. I hate to break the bad news. If you're in any major league, anything from golf to pool, you're taking steroids.
Gas.
You're on it in some. When you get to an elite level, man, of anything, the competition is too high for you not to be doing it. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yes.
And
those are and Victor Conti, the guy who was on, I heard him on another podcast and talk about that. The ones after fights are IQ tests. So the ones are more than they are drug tests. It's just were you stupid enough not to cycle off in time?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Didn't he take the fight late?
Yeah.
Okay, well, see, here's the deal.
Yeah.
If he was on, let's say he didn't think he was fighting for a long time, and he got on some Sustanon, something that's going to stay in his system longer. Sustanon stays in your system for like 9 months.
It was like Detronolone or something like that.
Yeah, but there's 1,000 names for what it's like. It's heroin's Vicodin, but they call it Vicodin. Right. There's multiple fucking things.
Do you think? Obviously, he decided he was going to win that fight, and he was going to do whatever it took to win that fight. Could you imagine if he'd have won that fight, and then it comes out that he failed the test?
He found out too last minute. He didn't find out in 3 weeks out and go, I'm going to get on some gimmicks and get really. You don't get nothing in 2 weeks. You get a better.